Greetings and welcome to this edition of BIS Talks. There's hardly anyone who doesn't think of having a dream home, a place replete with all life facilities, and one that offers peace, comfort, and security has always been a deep-seated human wish. To materialize this very dream, homeowners typically contribute a significant share of their life's earnings and time. Now, let's just expand our discussion on homes to buildings in general. Residential buildings, hospital edifices, offices, and all other kinds of construction, therefore, need a plan. Some kind of a code that puts in place all the processes relating to building construction in a smooth and efficient manner. All facets in this regard, including planning, obtaining permissions, execution of building plans, architectural drawings, structural designs, fire safety, security, earthquake resistance, functionality, public conveniences, gas supply, transport, and every other conceivable feature that are desired in buildings should be in one place, so that the very gamut of constructions becomes easy and much more efficacious than we often find it to be. So, cherish dreams of having a dream home, providing shelters to the poor and downtrodden, highly equipped hospitals, brilliant office spaces, great transport facilities, and consequent rise in national domestic produce and growth of the nation may be realizable if we follow a building code that helps us understand and realize the true potentials of the construction industry. Do we have a code that makes all this possible? Well, the answer is yes. The National Building Code of India, or simply NBC, can help us accomplish optimization of resources and consequent growth of the country by rationalizing the entire range of construction activities. The NBC gives a comprehensive set of guidelines for regulating the building construction activities all across the nation.
As you are aware, buildings are vulnerable to the impact of natural and man-made disasters like earthquakes, cyclones and fire. It is important that the buildings are not only well planned, comfortable and aesthetically pleasing, but also durable, safe and disaster resilient. These should also take care of the requirements of various building and plumbing services. Also, it is important that all the buildings erected promote sustainability by addressing the same in the planning, design, construction and operation and maintenance phases of the buildings. The built facility thereafter needs to be well maintained for ensuring longevity and continued performance. As you may be aware, as per Schedule 7 of the Constitution of India, construction is a state subject. NBC 2016 has therefore been brought out to give comprehensive provisions to serve as a guide for planning, design, construction and operation and maintenance of buildings. The various provisions are covered in 13 parts, which are divided into 33 chapters as different sections and subsections of various parts. In fact, the entire code is evolved around 4 pillars of safety, that is structural safety, fire safety, health safety and public safety. The code is a useful document for adoption and use by various authorities like regulatory bodies such as municipal corporations, municipalities, development authorities in revamping and revising their building bylaws, and government construction departments and private construction agencies in implementing the code in their construction programs. And thirdly, the building professionals like architects, civil and structural engineers, town planners, building services engineers, landscape architects in their professional practice. And finally, the academic institution, very importantly, for imparting technical education in architecture and civil engineering for the future professionals of the country.
Let us know the history of NBC before we delve further.
NBC was first published by BIS in the year 1970 as a result of special tasks taken up by a guiding committee headed by Major General Harkirat Singh in the erstwhile BIS, namely the Indian Standards Institution. This group considered the 1968 report on economies in construction costs recommended by a panel of experts and trusted by the then Planning Commission in the year 1965. The code in the first version contained 10 parts to it, developed through 18 technical panels that supported the guiding committee. The first revision of NBC was brought out as SP7 1983 and was launched in April 1984. Amendments numbered 1 and 2 were respectively issued to NBC 1983 in 1987, and a third amendment was issued in 1997. The second revision of NBC, that is SP7 2005, was released on 15th September 2005. Two amendments were issued to NBC 2005 in September 2015, introducing a new chapter on sustainability apart from clarifying further the aspects on fire safety. The current version of NBC is NBC 2016, which was brought out in 2 volumes, has a total 33 chapters in the form of 13 parts, some of which have been subdivided into sections and subsections.
Efficient administration is the key to the successful accomplishment of land development and construction as per master plan, regional plan and zonal plans. NBC covers the administrative aspects for authorities towards enforcing the provisions of the code, including the procedures for obtaining development and building permits and the responsibility of the owner and all the related professionals. A town or country planning department or a similar body, including the local authorities, can discharge their mandate with greater efficacy if they align their activities in line with the administrative provisions given in Part 2 of NBC. NBC even recommends setting up a Board of Appeal which provides a mechanism to provide a reasonable interpretation of the provisions of NBC in case of any dispute relating to ongoing construction vis-a-vis the sanctioned plan. The code emphasizes the setting up of an urban arts commission for metropolitan areas to assist the civic authorities in reviewing the development plans towards safeguarding aesthetic and natural beauty and also near historic and monumental buildings.
Building construction is regulated by development control rules and other related aspects of construction, keeping in mind factors such as available spaces, land use classifications, accessibility, height limitations, and parking requirements. NBC addresses these facets and comprehensively deals with the development control rules and the general building requirements.
Proper implementation of the development control rules and general building requirements necessitate coordination of developmental and building activities at both organizational and technical levels on the part of the concerned departments such as the Town and Country Planning Department, Urban Development Authority and urban local bodies. FAR or floor area ratio or floor space index is an important planning tool for regulating the extent of built-up area as per master plans and zonal plans linking with the density of development. NBC suggests a comparative floor area ratio to be allotted to various building occupancy uses and types of construction with a degree of fire protection on a road having a specified width. This ensures harmonious and safe development of buildings and the associated facilities such as schools, colleges, offices and hospitals. Given the fact that number of squatter settlements and pavement dwellers are constantly rising in urban areas, it is essential that the urban local bodies and development authorities develop schemes for their rehabilitation at the earliest. Affordability is an essential criterion in the context of space management without compromising the basic minimum needs of the family to be housed, including the mental, physical and the social health of the marginalized groups. For the benefit of economically weaker sections and the low-income groups, NBC rationalizes the requirements on planning, design of layout and shelter and other relevant development factors with no compromise on structural safety or fire safety.
NBC also covers provisions for buildings and built environments, ensuring a barrier-free environment for the elderly and persons with disabilities.
NBC suggests participatory models of public-private partnership in the development process by covering innovative planning and development tools like transferable development rights, TDR, and transit-oriented development, TOD. Using TDR, the developer receives a portion of the development rights in a new location in view of the constraints of the existing land area. Transit-oriented development promotes people-friendly transport by reducing dependence on private modes. TOD also reduces traffic congestion, delays and accidents on roads, helps to fight pollution and improves the livability, mobility and convenience of the citizens. TOD includes creation of pedestrian and non-motorized transport friendly environment and efficient public and para-transport system supporting the transit system, multimodal interchange and street connectivity, mixed land uses and appropriate intensity of development and well-designed and integrated parking.
Fire is a major hazard and no building can be deemed habitable unless it is equipped with fire safety measures. These measures, quite understandably, must be both in the nature of prevention and control of fire.
The best way to achieve fire safety in a building is to prevent fire at the first place by selecting the right type of building material as well as the electrical layout. More than fire, it is smoke that endangers the building inmates. The correct design of the building and their services can prevent them from turning into death traps. Part 4 of the NBC, which is widely implemented across the country, addresses the aspect of the fire prevention, life safety and fire protection. Passive fire protection will ensure systematic compartmentation and exit routes for evacuation in case of a fire emergency. Based on the type of the construction and the height of the different fire protection arrangements have been proposed in NBC. The master plan of each town differs. However, NBC has suggested zoning of the different occupancies based on the fire load and the risk evaluation. All occupancies have been divided into 9 zones based on the type of the material used and their fire resistance rating. Building height and the size of the compartmentation can ensure life safety of mixed and the other occupancies, also based on the fire protection arrangement as proposed in the NBC. Fire protection requirements are guided in NBC based on the scale of the project and the facilities in terms of their area of height, and apart from providing specific requirement for a high-rise building, car parking facilities, atrium, metro station, etc. Different Indian standards and on active and passive fire protection means have been laid down to meet the specific requirement. Thus, the provision of the NBC aims to achieve overall fire safety, which is global mandate in protecting mankind from avoidable deaths. All the building sanction authorities and the owners oblige occupier will ensure systematic functionality of fire protection system providing of the building complexes. Any failure will lead to stringent legal punishment. Property owners have an equal responsibility in maintaining and upkeep of their assets and facilities, including the firefighting system, fireman's lift, refuge area, etc., as also elaborated in Part 12 of the Assets and Facility Management of the NBC.
We cannot just use random materials for building construction. Only those building materials which are tested and certified as safe and durable are fit for construction activities. Therefore, it is essential to set standard specifications for building materials.
The materials covered in this part is indicative but not exhaustive, keeping in view the gaps between development of new materials and construction techniques whose formulation of standards would require a while until their stabilization. Thus, NBC recognizes the use of new or alternate building materials subject to the condition that such materials are effective and suitable for the purpose intended, as may be proved by appropriate tests such as durability, dimensional stability, fire safety, working characteristics, etc.
NBC provides for alternate materials details of Indian standard specifications for building materials, reorganization of existing categories, and formation of new categories such as bricks, blocks, and other masonry units, mortar, supplementary cement-like materials, mesh for prevention of diseases spread by mosquitoes and other carriers and vectors, concrete doors and window frames, composite material doors and windows, and file check doors, as also the requirements for alternate materials and construction technologies.
Structures built should have 5 virtues, namely safety, functionality, sustainability, aesthetics, and economy. Out of these 5, structural safety is very critical. Now, structural safety ensures that people are safe inside the structure. Second, the structure itself does not undergo adverse effects when the loads appear on them that are expected to show up during the lifetime of the structure. Third, that the construction of the structure should not adversely affect nature. Clearly, if the structure is built to be safe, then both people and nature are going to be protected. Structural safety means that the structure is made capable of resisting the 5 elements of nature, which is earth, wind, water, fire, and space. Also, it should resist the effects imposed by man. Structural safety is a continuous process, and it is embedded during planning stage, design stage, construction stage, and maintenance stage. Structural safety involves, first, estimating the loads that appear on the structure. Second, designing or composing the members to have the required strength in them. Third, that the structure should be constructed as designed. And fourth, the structure should be maintained as conceived during the design process. There are 18 design loads, and they are grouped into 2 sets, force loads and deformation loads. Force loads, there are 11 of them, and they can be grouped into man-made or natural. On the man-made, machine loads or blast loads would be examples. On the natural side, we can consider snow and wind loads as examples. On the other hand, deformation loads, there are 7 of them. Again, they can also be grouped into man-made and natural. On the man-made side, we can take the temperature rise due to fire in a structure as a basis. On the natural side, we can take earthquake shaking as an example for the deformation load. Providing resistance to the members of a structure is a critical step in structural safety, and this is examined through the following. First, the overall stability of the structure has to be ensured. Second, the structure should have at least a minimum stiffness so that it doesn't swing too much under the design loads. Third, the structure should have sufficient strength in it so that the design loads, the effects of those design loads are resisted without damage. Fourth, the construction must be possible without much difficulty. And fifth, we are looking at the protection of the architectural elements which means contents, appendages, and utilities that we provide in our structures. Sustainable development is a responsibility of the technical community of engineers, architects, and code writers. In the recent times, owners and governments are requiring that the critical and special structures should be made resilient. Understandably, the cornerstone of both sustainable development and resilient development is structural safety.
Anyone will tell you that if foundations are strong, the structure will be strong. To achieve a strong foundation, we need a solid scientific plan in place.
The second section pertains to structural design aspect of foundations and mainly covers the design principle involved in different types of foundations. This section also incorporates and emphasizes methods on site investigation, soil investigation, depth of exploration for pile foundation, site investigation report, assessment of liquefaction potential of a site, permissible differential settlement, and tilt or angular distortion for shallow foundation in various kinds of soil, and methods for calculation of bearing capacity of soil. Use of timber structure in the building is still common in many parts of the country. Thus, the code stresses special attention to structural design aspect of timber structures. The third section deals with structural design aspect of timber in building construction. Here, the various species of Indian timbers have been classified into three groups based on the structural properties that affect the design most. The code now includes strength data for more timber species, requirements for structural timber, and preferred cut sizes to meet the needs of modern construction projects. It also covers glued laminated timber construction, finger joints, and laminated veneer lumber, providing useful information for structural engineers. NBC addresses contemporary structural timber elements such as glued laminated beams, lamellar roofing, and even structural use of plywood and truss raft. Bamboo, as a traditional material for construction in hilly terrains, is covered in this section. Common experience suggests that bamboo is a versatile resource with high strength to weight ratio and cost ratio. It offers a lot of ease in working with simpler tools. Also, bamboo has the unique properties of being light and resilient and has emerged as an ideal material for housing in disaster-prone areas. NBC provides a comprehensive understanding of bamboo structures and their designs by covering the general principle involved in the design of structural bamboo in building with regard to mechanical resistance and durability of structures. Use of bamboo is covered as trusses in foundations, as reinforcement in concrete, use of bamboo-based materials and panel products such as walling, flooring, and roofing. With more than 90% of existing building in the country constructed using masonry walls, NBC provides a comprehensive guidance for structural design of both the unreinforced and reinforced masonry elements in the building. Provision on reinforced bricks and reinforced brick concrete floors are also included. The code has incorporated special consideration for masonry construction in earthquake zones as well. Further, comprehensive strength for different grades of mortar that is used to build the masonry unit to mix their proportion, namely types of cement and sand, strength of mortars, proportioning emphasis of mortars by mass instead of by volume to reflect sound engineering practices have all been covered.
It is not infrequent to find a building unsuitable for habitation due to fallacious use of plain and reinforced concrete.
As we are all aware, concrete is the second most used item in the world after water in terms of per capita consumption. India currently is the second largest cement manufacturer, and a significant portion of it is consumed through concrete for various infrastructural projects. With a view to ensuring the quality of cement, the Government of India has mandated ISI marking on cement. Fresh concrete, which can be prepared on a construction site or ordered through ready-mix form, needs to be designed including for the structural behavior in reinforced concrete structures and pre-stressed concrete structures. The provisions of the National Building Code, apart from the mother code, namely the IS 456 on plain and reinforced concrete, have various updates such as self-compacting concrete, high performance concrete and steel fiber reinforced concrete, requirements for fire resistance of concrete, use of industrial waste based aggregates in addition to natural river sand. Caution with reference to PSC in concrete that requires additional setting time and repropping of the structures, to name a few, have also been addressed in this code. Emphasis has been laid on ductile design and detailing of reinforced concrete elements that have to resist the lateral effects of earthquake shaking, thereby maintaining adequate stiffness, strength and ductility to resist severe earthquake shaking without collapse. National Building Code addresses the structural design aspects of general purpose structural use of prestressed concrete in buildings, safety and specific issues such as anchorage devices, cables, stress relaxation and tendon sheathing that take center stage in the planning construction of prestressed concrete elements are also covered. The building professional is expected to prepare and submit subsurface investigation report and structural design and drawings, in particular to the authority as enshrined in Part 2 of the National Building Code. I am glad to share that as a practicing civil and structural engineer, numerous buildings and civil engineering structures such as the Signature Bridge, Lajpat Nagar flyover and several other flyovers, the Vigyan Bhavan, Parliament Library buildings and several other buildings were designed, proof checked, constructed and maintained till date in consonance with the provisions of the Building Code and the related Indian standards.
The section on materials, workmanship, inspection and testing have been updated in the code, which includes precautions required to be made while using Portland slag cement and Portland pozzolana cement or mineral admixture to account for modified de-shuttering time, curing period and the time of pre-stressing, provisions concerning maximum water cement ratio, concrete exposed to sulfate attack and use of uncoated stress relieved low relaxation 7-ply strand as pre-stressing steel. No talk about constructions can be complete unless we discuss the recent trends in use of steel sections as primary elements in residential and commercial buildings.
This section addresses the structural design aspect of steel structure in building, covering the use of hot rolled structural steel sections and steel tubes. The code covers design by limit state method, plastic analysis, including working stress method. The code provides updated design provisions for earthquake effects related various load combinations, ductile designing for earthquake forces and related column base connection and much more.
NBC lays emphasis on individualization of building construction and factory-made building components. This section covers prefab structures, their sizes, systems for prefabrication, design consideration, joints, manufacture, storage, transport and erection in building construction. In this chapter of NBC, modular dimension of the components that provide greater flexibility in planning, necessary tolerance for different types of prefabricated components, design requirements for safety, and the clause on sampling procedure for testing of components have all been addressed. The other section on system building and mixed composite building construction of the code covers recommendations regarding modular planning, component sizes, joints, manufacture, storage, transport of and erection for use in buildings. The field of systems buildings and mixed composite building construction, commonly called pre-engineered building construction, is a new field.
Nowadays, usage of glass has become an integral part of buildings.
NBC addresses the need for essential facets relating to use of glass in buildings. Understandably, NBC emphasizes fixing of glass through a specialized operation whilst ensuring safety from accidental breakage incidents. Safety from human impact is guided in the code apart from the specific requirements on glazing systems. This chapter provides useful insights to architects and engineers about judicious use of glass in buildings.
Part 7 of NBC addresses construction project management, construction planning, site management, building construction practices, storage stacking and handling of building materials, and safety of personnel during construction of buildings, and even the habitat and welfare requirements for workers.
Each construction project is unique and has to be architecturally conceived, structurally designed, and services diligently planned. Part 7 of the National Building Code addresses construction project management, construction planning, site management, building construction practices, storage, stacking, and handling of building materials, and safety of personnel during the construction of buildings. It also covers habitat and welfare requirements for workers. The art of planning entails listing out construction operations and making adequate arrangements for procurement and storage of materials, and the methodology for having a competent agency for construction. The typical life cycle of the project from start to finish involves project formulation and appraisal, project development, planning for construction, tender action, construction, and commissioning and handing over. The technical soundness of a proposal can never be discounted, as also giving due diligence to management aspects dealing with resources and manpower. Construction practices would include all the activities at the project site. These require careful planning of the methodology of construction. Temporary works such as scaffolding and formwork need attention to prevent accidents. Construction involves many types of building materials, and the storage criteria for each could be different, requiring proper assessment. In our country, a large part of the construction is labor-oriented, and safety practices have to be streamlined to minimize accidents. Large works would require labor camps at the site, and the habitat and welfare requirements of workers are important. It is essential that construction projects are completed within the scheduled time, within the authorized cost, to the required quality standards, and also meets the planned functional objectives. Another aspect of a typical construction project is that it comprises activities from various disciplines like architectural, civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, etc. And the coordination between these components is an important part of project management. This would require efficient project management, which entails the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. The Bureau of Indian Standards has brought out a series of standards for this purpose, covering all aspects of project management like time, cost, quality, safety, etc. The use of these guidelines would help the project manager to achieve the desired objectives.
A building is only half ready as its associated services. Part 8 of NBC provides a holistic treatment of the related building services.
Part 8, Section 1 of NBC ensures good lighting and ventilation, making a building livable. The requirements and methods for lighting and natural ventilation of buildings are detailed in the code. Illumination levels required for different tasks have been recommended in the code, along with the ways to achieve them, such as by day lighting or using artificial lighting or a combination of both. The ventilation requirement for building occupancies suggested in the code helps maintain air quality, control body odors through air changes per unit frame, provide thermal comfort, and maintain heat balance of the body. Various aspects have been elaborated in the code, and some of them are: NBC in the chapter on electrical and allied installation addresses both electricity usage in buildings and protection from lightning. Correct design of the installation by the building professionals and effective installations including electrical wiring prevent short circuiting and related hazards. Some of the key aspects of electrical installation and safety features include: moreover, the electrical installation aspect for construction sites, demolition sites, protection of human beings from electrical hazards, and protection against fire in the buildings due to leakage current are all addressed in NBC. Air conditioning, heating, and mechanical ventilation is the third important building service dealt in NBC, covering the essential aspects including goals and objectives, basis of design of the HVAC system, input parameters for design, design guidelines, performance parameters, pre-planning considerations,
range of equipment and system components, and a host of other facets. NBC contemplates the selection of air and conditioning and mechanical ventilation systems that are optimally suited to the specific type of building application and the climatic zones concerned. Some of the key new and innovative approaches on HVAC covered in NBC include:
a critical component of building services addressed in National Building Code is acoustics in building, which if not managed would lead to an unbearable cacophony, thereby making a building uninhabitable. National Building Code thus addresses the acoustical aspects, sound insulation and noise control requirements in building by stressing on planning of buildings as against their surrounding to reduce noise, by recommending sound insulation aspects of different occupancies for achieving acceptable noise levels. National Building Code recommends use of sound insulating material for prevention of transmission of airborne noise, as also reduce structure-borne noise by using sound insulating materials that block the passage of noise by virtue of their mass and physical properties. The Section 5 of Part 8 provide a comprehensive treatment of vertical transportation with respect to lifts in building. The planning, design, installation, operation, maintenance, and inspection aspects of the code are with a view to ensure safe movement of people with satisfactory performance. National Building Code specially suggests provision for high-speed lifts for tall buildings, lifts for firefighting and emergency evacuation, machine roomless lifts, destination control system, seismic resistant aspects in lifts. National Building Code covers the essential requirement for interflow and intraflow communication, particularly in large buildings, by proper planning, installation, operation and maintenance of escalators and moving walks. Part 8, Section 6 of National Building Code contains the essential requirements for information and communication enabled installations and technology systems and cabling installation in a building. The code also covers National Building Code facilitates effective communication option to choose from using any of the technologies, be it through cable wire, optical fiber, fixed wireless and mobile wireless technologies. National Building Code also provide for building management systems and creation of smart buildings. The high-end technologies such as distributed antenna system, Wi-Fi and other facets in building solution must be taken into reckoning at the planning stage itself.
Another way to achieve the third pillar of safety, namely health safety in buildings, is by ensuring supply of adequate water, drainage of liquid waste and disposal of solid waste. The same is achieved through Part 9 of the Code. The water supply requirements in buildings cover a plethora of useful aspects such as plumbing activities, water supply systems, conveyance and distribution of water within the premises, hot water supply system, inspection and maintenance of water supply system, etc. Designs of water supply systems at high altitude areas and areas with sub-zero temperatures are also covered in NBC in detail.
Significant of them being: the next section addresses the issues such as sanitation, drainage and related plumbing activities.
Everything related to ensuring health and hygiene by draining wastewater and maintaining the sanitary requirements of buildings are addressed in NBC, such as design, construction and maintenance of drains inside buildings and outside by connecting with public sewers, septic tanks, cesspools, use of corrugated pipes, low noise pipes, underslung pipes, bio-toilets, mounting arrangements for plumbing fixtures, layout of drainage and sanitation system, air venting system for high-rise buildings, gradients of drainage pipes, estimation of stormwater runoff, etc. Another building ancillary covered in NBC is solid waste management systems, which is based on assessment of per capita solid waste quantities, treatment of solid waste within buildings and building complexes. The provisions are in line with the relevant statutes and regulations and also cover accessible operation of tubes by persons with disabilities, electrically operated dumbwaiters, to name a few. The fourth section of this part of NBC covers gas supply for purposes like fuel, lighting, and medical uses. The key aspects covered in NBC include In a nutshell, this section of NBC ensures safe use of gases in buildings.
A building is as alive as its surroundings. Landscape planning of the building premise ensures this liveliness. NBC, through its Part 10, provides the design and development guidelines with the objective of improving quality of outdoor built environment and protection of the land and its resources. The code covers the related aspects such as the subsequent section of the code provides the aspects of building construction, namely signs and outdoor display structures with regard to public safety, structural safety, and fire safety. Rapid development across the country has necessitated the framing of related requirements for the display of advertisement signs and holdings in NBC.
Perhaps you all are aware that to have a sustainable world, a meeting of 193 countries was held sometime in the year 2015 at the United Nations headquarters, New York, when it was decided to have 17 Global Sustainable Development Goals. These were targeted to be achieved by the year 2030. India is one of the signatories to this document. To monitor the progress of these goals, 117 targets were set and 247 indicators were decided. We in the BIS are pursuing these goals relentlessly through various code formulations. Goal number 11 is regarding sustainable cities and communities. This goal has 10 targets. The National Building Code of India contains provisions to meet most of the targets laid down under this goal, which include affordable housing, reduction of adverse effects of natural disasters, reduction of environmental impacts on cities, providing access to safe and inclusive green and public spaces. Our view is that this goal can be substantially achieved by adopting the provisions enshrined in the NBC. Various provisions of NBC can be adopted by municipal corporations, municipalities, housing boards, development agencies, town and village panchayats, etc., by referring to the chapters of NBC in their rules, regulations, and bylaws. This will result in the development of an orderly, safe, accessible, and sustainable ecosystem.
In the light of the growing requirements for maintenance of the built-up stock, the NBC has incorporated a new chapter which gives a comprehensive treatment to asset and facility management for adoption by all concerned. The Part 12 addresses issues such as management of building assets and associated services, maintenance of all types of facilities and fixed assets. The code also covers critical activities and critical assets that need to be focused upon by facility managers and the responsibilities of occupants for maintenance of facilities such as structures, equipment, and exterior property. Some of such areas include We hope the contents of the National Building Code of India mentioned in this film will help all of us understand the gamut of building construction in the light of the latest practices and principles.
A lot of mind and effort have gone into the writing of the code. If the code is practiced in letter and spirit, we shall certainly achieve a solid infrastructure that in turn will fuel the growth of the nation. As we have seen, the code is a comprehensive account of what ought to be done by the construction industry. Given the fact that the code is revised from time to time, its relevance and usability will never get compromised.
With a view to assisting the local bodies, recently a special publication, SP 73, was released by the BIS titled Standardized Development and Building Regulations, that serves as a model document intending to bring uniformity in structuring, detailing, as well as key approval processes throughout the country without sacrificing any unique or area-specific needs of respective states and union territories. This document emerges as a beacon of uniformity designed to streamline the structuring and detailing of the development and building regulations of the states and union territories in the country. I may, however, add that considering the size of our country, there are a large number of municipalities, municipal corporations, and village panchayats which need assistance and guidance in their day-to-day workings wherever they are controlling the building regulations. This document will be of great assistance to all of them.
Buildings, as we have said before, are primal parts of a country's infrastructure. The code is a sure way to economical and safe building construction that caters to all needs of modern-day life. The use of the code could also fill the gap between the needs and the available means. Home for all, high-tech office buildings, including hospitals, and a profound base for further growth are achievable dreams. One of the keys to achieve them is the National Building Code of India. Thank you very much for watching, and we will be more than happy to address any new area or facet of buildings that you might want to. Thanks again, and take care.